Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and today what I want to cover is the fastest and most efficient leveling for Destiny 2, and we are in now Season of the Chosen. It is February 9th, got a brand new season. The first part of this video is going to be for newer players, or if it's been a while and you want a refresher of, how all of the gear is working. I'm going to cover that. If you've been here for a while, you've been playing recently, you know how the seasons and most of this works, you can jump ahead to know what the powerful and the pinnacle sources of gear are going to be. But I'm going to start with an intro on gear, leveling, and a couple tips about that, and then we'll jump into the sources to go for the final stretch. So for those of you that are newer or looking for a refresher, when you pull up your character, what you're going to have is two numbers. Your power level is made up of two things. You've got an artifact bonus, that's where it says +4 bonus, and then you've got your gear score, which is the average of the 8 pieces of gear, and they round down to the lowest whole number. So if I'm 1263 and something, I'm just 1263. Now, a quick review, your artifact, that is for each season, you get an artifact, and as you gain experience, you get a bonus power level. So I could have a gear score of 1263 if I have an artifact bonus that was, this wouldn't happen, but just for sheer example, if it was +20, then my power score up here would be 1263 for my gear, +20, I would be 1283. So the artifact is always on top of your gear. So keep that in mind, but the artifact is separate. All it is based on the more experience you get throughout the season, the more of those power bonus levels you're going to earn. Gear score is mostly what we're going to talk about today. So we're done with the artifact. As I said, your gear is made up of an average of all your gear. Your 3 weapons and your 5 pieces of armor. And it's averaged. So you might have a piece a little higher, piece a little lower. It's always going to find that middle point and round down to the whole number. Now, one thing to make note, weapons don't quite function the same way as armor when the game looks at the level of the gear. Your power level is what, the game sees you, mostly PvE activities. PvP and Crucible, that's kind of all normalized. But when you're looking at PvP activities, when you go to higher difficulty activities, the power level matters for like damage resistance, a lot mostly, and kind of your survivability sake. But your damage is based on your weapons. So if I come in here and I've got a 1263 weapon, I'm about as high as I can be. But if I go into like a 1270 activity with an 1100 weapon, I'm going to be fairly useless. So when you're playing in higher difficulty activities, it is important to make sure you are running a high level piece of gear and make sure your average is high, but make sure that your weapons are as high as they can possibly be for that high damage output. That's important. Now, when you're leveling up in Destiny, everything right now starts at a floor of 1100. Every new character, every piece of gear in the entire game is no lower than 1100. So you're going to start from 1100 and you're going to work your way up to the soft cap. That's going to be 1250. Now, what is the soft cap? Basically, that's where your sources of leveling up change. If you're a new character, haven't played in a while, you're 1100, whatever it may be, if you pull up the directory, yours is probably not going to look the same way mine is because you're not going to likely see all those yellow icons until you hit the soft cap. Main reason is those come into play later on. So if you're under 1250, which is that soft cap, what you're going to do is do whatever you want. You can go into the Vanguard playlist, you can run PvE strikes against, random missions and get gear that drops in there. You can go play PvP in the Crucible, and you'll get some drops in there. You can go to any of the planets. You could do a public event. You could go run a lost sector, open the chest at the end. Whatever you do, you're going to get gear that drops that is going to likely help you, not always, but most of the time. It's going to work out that you're going to get gear that's slightly above your level, and as long as you don't delete the highest piece in each slot, you'll continue to level up. So you want to make sure that you have the gear somewhere on your character or in your vault. You don't have to specifically have it equipped. Just because I moved this weapon over and I want to mess around, the game still knows my highest gear score is 1263, even though I don't have it currently equipped. And I could even have this same weapon in my storage vault in the tower, and it's still going to know that I have a kinetic weapon that's 1263, and it's going to know whatever my next drop is going to be based on my max level. So you don't have to have it with you. Just don't delete the highest stuff until you get something higher. That being said, once you go through, do all those different activities, when you hit 1250, Then we'll be looking for different sources of gear. But before we talk about that, there's one other thing I want to show you. Well, first, this is Destiny Item Manager. If you don't know what this is a tool that you can use to help manage your inventory, also do some searching, see what vendors are selling. It's a great tool. If you don't know about it, look it up. I've done a video about some good software for Destiny. But what this is going to show you is your character. So this is my Titan, and you can see my artifact bonus is 4. You can see right here my maximum gear score is 1263 and 4/8. I'll cover the fraction in a second. And my maximum power is 1267, both of those combined, just as you saw in-game. When I put my max stuff on, 1267, that's as high as I go. So when I come back in here, the cool thing that Destiny Item Manager will show you is where your gear slots might be lacking and where you can potentially go for an upgrade. Now, before I explain these pluses and minuses, one thing you should know, once you hit the soft cap of 1250, any random gear that drops in the game at that point could be anywhere from -3 to -0 under your level. So say you hit 1250. Well, the gear that drops at that point is probably going to be dropping at 1250, but say you're like 1260. You're a little farther into the leveling, and we'll explain that as you go. If I'm at 1260 and I go do random thing that gave me gear to level up before, if I go to a lost sector and open a chest, it could drop a piece of gear that is 1257. So if I'm 1260, it could drop at 1257, 1258, 1259, or even 1260. Same principle applies to my character here. If I'm 1263 right now, I could go out, do a random public event, kill a random enemy, a piece of gear drops. It could be 1260, 1261, 1262, or 1263. And the fact that a random piece of gear could drop at my level, as you could see, actually could help me in my boot slot. So I could actually get a piece of 1263 gear by doing nothing else besides playing the game, which sometimes has some benefits. Because once you are trying to work from 1250 to 1300, which is the powerful cap, the only way to get, gear that's going to increase your level is certain sources in the game. Certain activities that you do are going to give you gear that's going to increase you past 1250, and I'll show you what those are here in a second. But you only have a certain number, so you want to make the best use of each one of those possible. So say, for example, my level here was 1263 and 7/8. It would be in my benefit if it was trying to be as efficient as possible, depending on how much time you have. If you're time limited, don't worry as much about this and just do the things that I show you next. But if you're trying to be efficient and you're 1263 and 7/8, go play around in the game, try and do random public events, lost sectors, and see if you can get a pair of boots that drops at 1263. Because if I was just 1/8 away from getting that next level, and then I found that piece of gear and I was all of a sudden 1264, if I got any of those powerful gear things I'm about to talk about, they would actually drop at a higher level because I bumped my average up by 1/8, but it bumped that whole number up by 1. So just wanted to cover that for you guys. Also, Destiny Item Manager is fantastic. If you don't know about it, use it. All right, so for those of you that have skipped ahead, or for those of you who watched the intro, now we are at the point where you are at 1250. You are at the soft cap, and you're trying to get up to 1300. That is the powerful cap. Now, there's there's quite a few different sources that are going to give you powerful engrams. Some are going to show Pinnacle, and I'll explain that as we go, but these are the only sources that are going to help increase your level from 1250 to 1300. That is the powerful cap. Now, when you're in this phase, you're going to have a couple different types of powerful engrams. Engrams are basically going to be the piece of gear. You can have a powerful gear tier 1. Say, for example, I'm 1250. I just hit the soft cap and I'm 1250. I go complete 8 gunsmith bounties and I get a powerful gear tier 1 drop. Tier 1 equals a +3 drop. If you see tier 2, there's not a lot of them, but there's a couple. That's considered a +4 drop. So if I was 1250 and I finished this one and I went to Hawthorne and I picked this one up, I would get a 1254 piece of gear. Finally, you've got Pinnacle Gear, which does 2 things. I'm only going to cover the powerful piece right now. As long as you are 1250 to basically 1300, a piece of Pinnacle Gear is going to drop as +5. So if I was 1250 and I finished the Prophecy Dungeon, the final drop would drop at 1255. Now, one thing to make note about Pinnacles, when you get up to that powerful cap, say you finish the Prophecy Dungeon and your level is like 1298. I can't promise you that's going to give you a +5. I'm not entirely sure how the math works once you get close to that powerful cap, but most of the time as you level up, pinnacles are going to count as +5. Now, why does this matter? Well, a powerful tier 1 is +3. A Pinnacle Gear, as you're leveling up through the like 1250 to 1300, is a +5. It is in your benefit to do everything that is tier 1 first, then tier 2, and then Pinnacle, because the main reason you don't want to do it in the reverse order, what you could do, hey, I went in the Prophecy Dungeon, I finished the final boss, I got my Pinnacle drop. I just got some 1255 boots. Awesome. Okay. I also finished some bounties for the gunsmith. I'm going to turn this in afterwards. I'm going to get a tier 1 drop. I just got 1253 boots. That's a bummer because now you've wasted one of your powerful drops for the week. So again, this is all about efficiency. But again, the big deal is if you don't do this stuff in the right order, it can work against you. So just trying to cover that for all of you guys as a quick reminder, refresher, anything of that sake. So we're going to cover the powerful gear resources, or the powerful gear sources, tier 1, tier 2, and then I'll cover the pinnacles, and I'll make a couple distinctions about those. First, we're sitting here in the tower, so you've got your powerful gear tier 1. You've got Zavala. You need to do 8 Vanguard bounties, that's powerful gear tier 1. 8 Crucible bounties, tier 1. 8 Gunsmith bounties, tier 1. And also over here, you've got 8 Gambit bounties, also tier 1. Now, one thing to make note, as you go through the Prophecy Dungeon, you've also got 2 drops that happen in there from kind of 2 checkpoint sections for encounters. Those also drop powerful gear tier 1. So the first boss, and then also the cube room, those drop as powerful gear. The final boss counts as a pinnacle drop. Cover that a bit later. If you come over here we're on Europa now. Down here at the Stranger, if you kill 100 enemies with Stasis off of Europa, I'm pretty sure is what it says. Once you kill 100, that's a tier 1 drop. 8 bounties at Varix, same as everybody else in the tower. That's another tier 1 drop. If you move up here, you've got your Empire hunts. They rotate which hunts you're going to do every week. If you complete 2 hunts, you're going to get a tier 1 drop. And just remember, if you're doing this, what you need to do is go to Varix, pick up the hunt that matches the Empire hunt, the Dark Priestess. You're going to need to make sure you do the Empire hunt, go through the 3 stages of the quest. Then when you get to the 4th one, then you need to come up here and kick off the hunt from here. Do that twice, you get a tier 1 drop. On the Dreaming City, from last season, this was from Season of the Hunt, you've got the Coup de Grace mission. If you finish this one, where you hunt the High Celebrant throughout the Dreaming City, you also can get a tier 1 drop here. If you haven't done this before, go talk to the Crow on the Tangled Shore, work through last season's story. For the Vanguard page, we've got one piece that's going to be a tier 1 drop. That's going to be your weekly Nightfall the Ordeal completion, and you'll see it's a progress bar. The way to get 100% is depending on the difficulty you do. If you do it at Adept difficulty, you're going to get 33%. You'll knock it out in 3 runs. It's a third, not 33 exactly, but 33.33333. At Hero, you'll just have to run it twice, so you'll get 50% for each Nightfall you finish. And then Legend is going to be 100% on 1, but note, for 1, it's not match made. 2, the difficulty level is definitely higher, and the level above you, you're definitely going to notice the difference. But if you can finish it on Legend, you only have to do 1 of them. So consider this one as you're getting closer to 1300, gets a little easier than right when you hit 1250. But either way, whatever difficulty you choose, once you finish that progress bar, that's a tier 1 drop. Now, also from last season, I have not tested this one yet because I've not run Wrathborn hunts yet again. It says Powerful Legacy Gear. Now, this doesn't say a tier. I would assume it's a tier 1 if it actually is powerful. It does say powerful, though, because I've checked other old bounties and things like that, and they say Legendary Gear. So as this says Powerful Legacy, this might be a drop from a previous season, older gear, whatever it is. Potentially it will be a higher level. So even if it's just used to infuse, maybe, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to test that later. I'll comment below once I know more. But theoretically, if you do 5 Wrathborn hunts and you got nothing else to do, I would probably save this one till last. If you got 5 Wrathborn hunts you can knock out once your lure is charged, you could do those because they are pretty quick. and then you'll be able to get a powerful gear, probably tier 1 here as well. So that covers tier 1. Everything from 1250 to 1300 that's going to get you a +3 drop. Now we've got tier 2. Now there are only 2 tier 2, which is a +4 drop. So if you were 1250, you'd be getting 1254 gear. One of them is from Hawthorne. And this is one of the reasons you should join a clan. Even if you don't really know it as well, even if they're not that active, it's beneficial for you to be in a clan just so you can earn the 5,000 clan experience and get your clan, your tier 2 engram for the week. So search for a random clan. There could be some that are open in public. Just look for one, try and join one, or look for one if you really want to try and get involved. But just be part of a clan, so if you just earn random experience throughout the week, you're going to get a tier 2 drop just for doing pretty much anything in the game. It's not too hard to get. The other tier 2 drop is actually brand new. This is for Season of the Chosen, and this is the Battlegrounds. You're going to have to finish 6 Battlegrounds in a week, and this is going to get you a tier 2 drop. This is also going to be +4, and, you know, if you're 1250, you're going to drop at 1254. 6 Battlegrounds is going to take you a little while to go through, so don't try and do this in like the last 30 minutes. It's probably not going to happen. Probably going to want to work on this a little earlier in the week. Now, the reason I saved this discussion for last is because it's so important before we talk about Pinnacles, and this is the Glory Survival playlist. Now, some of you may be like, PvP, I'm running away. And I get it. PvP is not for you. You probably can skip this entire discussion. But there is a benefit to spending time in this playlist, especially because they made the freelance version, where everybody is solo. You may not be that good, but you might get paired up with 2 other people who are awesome and get carried. You also might have games where we just get stepped on. I've been in both situations. It's still going to have its benefits, I promise you. So, if you win 7 rounds, and each, I want to say it's like best of 7. So the team I was on carried my butt. I will say I wasn't doing that great. We won the 4 rounds of the first match I played. If I did that one more time, 2 matches, and it's, you know, each round can be fairly quick, I would have a tier 1 drop. That's fairly fast. But there's something else when it comes to PvP that a lot of people forget. That is your glory rank and your valor rank. And as you level these up, that makes a huge difference in the amount of gear you get. So you'll notice right now mine says Brave 1. I hit 240. I hit that in 1 game, by the way. Because depending on the skill level of the players you face, depending on your skill level, and where it thinks you should be in the kind of glory competitive PvP ranking, it's going to take you up the rankings fairly quickly until it gets you close to where the game thinks you should be. The game tends to think I'm probably going to be somewhere around 2,000 of about 5,000 because I seem to get up to about 1,500, 1,800, and then it slows way down and I kind of go up a little slower. But even if I go from Guardian, which is the first named rank, through 1, through 2, through 3, and then notice I got to Brave 1. I did this in 1 game. You may not do this if you're new because it may not know you, but every name change, so Guardian to Brave, Brave to Hero, and then I think Hero to Fabled, I forget the exact names, but every time you change a name, you're going to get some powerful gear. And I did this in 1 game. Now, not everybody's going to have that same equation, but still, the Glory playlist can give you a lot. And also, while you play the competitive playlist, you earn Valor. As you rank up your Valor rank, when you go from Guardian 1 to Brave Guardian 3, so that's the 3rd tier, to the next named, like Brave 1, I'm also going to get gear here that's powerful. So playing some PvP, if you can manage it or deal with it, is actually going to help you level up really fast. So don't forget about PvP, and especially do not forget about the Glory playlist, because you will get a lot of gear drops, and you will get a lot of high-level like drops quickly if you spend some time in here. If you manage to win like 5 or 6 matches in a row, you would have leveled up a crap ton in a very short period of time. So play a little bit of survival glory. You're going to get lucky against people. You're going to get unlucky. But at least in freelance survival, everybody's solo, so the luck can at least, you know, be a 50-50 shot, as opposed to here where you're probably playing stacked teams. So I'll play freelance survival here and there a little bit as I level up. And believe me, every so often, this is a good place to get some nice gear drops, because between ranking up both Glory and Valor, you're going to see some drops that boost your level, and it's probably one of the fastest ways you'll see them. So keep that in mind, and don't forget. Now we come to the final gear. This is all that you see, what I've kind of scanned over so far. This is Pinnacle. Now, Pinnacle does two things. If you're under the powerful cap, so you're under 1300, as I said previously, it's going to give you a +5 drop. So if I was 1250 and I did a Pinnacle activity, I would get a 1255 drop. But remember, you're going to want to do the tier 1 powerful drops first. If you can do this in this order, you may not always have the opportunity, so, do what you can. Then do tier 2s, like go pick those up, and then try and do any Pinnacles. Once you hit 1300, you don't have much farther for your gear score to go. You can go to the Pinnacle cap, though, which is 1310. So, say you've gone through, you played the game for a couple of weeks, and you're at 1300. Now, when you get Pinnacle gear, the increments are very small. Most Pinnacle drops are going to be +2. So, if you were 1300, you would go to 1302. Some of the Pinnacle drops are easier to do, and they're a +1 Pinnacle. So if you were 1300, you would get a 1301 drop. Between both of them, there's a decent mix, but I'll explain which is which. So for +1 Pinnacle drops, these are easier to do. They're more completion's sake. You have one of each. In the Vanguard playlist, you have complete strikes using the same subclass element as the current active elemental burn. What does that mean? If it says Void Singe, run a Void subclass on your character. When you finish the strike, it will count for 1. If you don't match that, it won't count. So make sure you pay attention to the burn of the week and match it. You'll be good to go. It may rotate daily or weekly, but I honestly forget. You just got to do 3 strikes that way, and that's a Pinnacle. Remember, as you're leveling up to the powerful cap, this counts as a +5. Notice how I did 2 strikes and I haven't done the third? I'm saving this for later in the week until I've done a lot of the other stuff, and then I got to go do 1 strike, and then I'm good to go. So you can do part of these things, kind of have them ready to go, and then once you're done with all the lower level stuff, then start checking these boxes with the final thing you've got to do. For Gambit, this is the 4v4 kind of PvPvE situation. You need to complete 3 matches. Same thing. This will drop either if you're under 1300 as a +5, or if you're 1300 or above, it's going to drop as a +1 Pinnacle. Final thing is the Crucible playlist. So in here, you're going to have your core playlists: Control, Mayhem, which is going to rotate kind of on a weekly basis with other things, so this one will change. Rumble, which is solos. And then Elimination, which is practice for Trials of Osiris. All of these work the same way as a +1 Pinnacle, and all you got to do is complete 3 matches. You could suck, you could get like 1 kill in 3 matches, you're still going to get your Pinnacle. So again, not hard to do. I've done 2 out of 3, saving that last match until I'm done with all my other powerful stuff, save the Pinnacles for later. Now, up here in this corner is going to be Trials of Osiris. If you're curious about Trials of Osiris, there is powerful and Pinnacle gear that drops in different levels in there. That's definitely competitive PvP, pretty sweaty in there, so that's not for your standard leveling up, but if you are a PvP sweatlord, then you're definitely going to want to pay attention to Trials. At level 3 and level 5, you're, I think, going to get powerful drops, and then at level 7, you'll get a Pinnacle drop, which will count as a +2. And then we're going to go through the rest of the +2s. Trials isn't open right now, and I'm making this before it comes up. If you're curious about Trials, there are people who know Trials a lot better than me, so check out Trials explained on somebody else's video. This is for Iron Banner, comes up about 3 or 4 times a season. There are 4 bounties, usually, that Lord Saladin will have in the tower, and those bounties are also going to count as +2 Pinnacles. So if I was 1300, they would count as 1302. Same as the final chest for Trials of Osiris, that would count as a 1302, a +2 Pinnacle as well. So those aren't really that big of a deal, but that covers those. Now, the other things I'm going to show you on the directory at this point are also going to be +2 Pinnacles. So if you're from 1300 up to trying to get to 1310, these will give you that +2 Pinnacle drop. But if you can do these before you get to the, the powerful cap of 1300, say you do some of these at 1280, they're going to drop as a 1285, for example. They would be a +5 if you're leveling up. They are as follows. Prophecy Dungeon, when you beat the final boss, that will be a Pinnacle gear level drop. For the Nightfall, if you complete the Nightfall with a score of above 100,000, that will be a Pinnacle gear drop. The only way you're probably going to be able to do the 100,000 score, maybe on Hero if you're like perfect, but I usually end up about 90k. You're likely going to have to do it at least Legend to be able to get 100k, which means you're either going to do it solo and fast like Esoteric, who's a monster, or you're going to take 3 people in here and work through it and get your 100k. 100k on Legend isn't too hard, usually if you're decent, and don't die a ton, because there is a bit of a time limit. Hero, it's always really tough to do it. Depends on the strike, depends on a couple of things. But Legends, usually we're going to start to do your 100k Nightfall ordeal for your Pinnacle Gear. If we're on Europa, you've got the simulation each week. You can do this one time for a Pinnacle drop. This is a +2. And this does rotate weekly, so there's 3 different simulations that you can see. This one is survival, so keep that in mind. Also, if you come up here, you've got your Empire Hunt. I mentioned one earlier, but now you can see if you complete your Empire Hunt on Master difficulty, which you can see is 1330. It's going to be a while till people are doing those. If you finish one at 1330, that's also going to be a Pinnacle drop. The raid is always Pinnacles. Now, if you're going to go do the raid, this season it's easier because we're a season past it, so it's only level 1220 to like 1250. So any drop in the raid as you're leveling up is going to be a +5. And then when you're working for the Pinnacles, each drop is going to count as a +2. So the raid with like, I think 4 or 5 drops that are in there is one of the fastest ways to do it. Not everybody can. If you can play Deepstone Crypt, find a way. It's an awesome raid. So please make sure you guys try to find a way to do that. And as you'll be over leveled now, you should be able to be a little more, tanky and survivable as opposed to a bit squishier last season. So if you get up to 1300, you go into this raid, you're going to be doing some extra damage and be harder to kill. So definitely a good place to raid later on. And the final piece is the Harbinger quest. Now this is for now, but this is also complete the Harbinger. So you'll go through the activity, beat the emissaries, do your kind of jumping puzzle and stuff, get to the end, kill the final boss. And when you do that, you'll get a Pinnacle drop as well. It's 1270. But as now we can finally get up to 1300, this should start to get easier as well. Now I know this is a long video, but I wanted to try and cover everything I could. So a quick summary. Soft cap for new players, 1100. Nothing can be lower than that. That's where we all start. Up to 1250, do anything in the game. Powerful cap is 1300. So 1250 to 1300, you're going to do the powerful gear items as best as you can in this order. Tier 1, then Tier 2, and then finally then Pinnacle. This is a +3 drop. This is a +4 drop. This is a +5 drop. Once you hit 1300, the only thing that can take you from 1300 to 1310 are going to be the things that say Pinnacle. Remember, the core playlist, finish 3 strikes, finish 3 Crucible matches, finish 3 Gambit matches. Those are +1s, so 1301, for example. And then anything else that says Pinnacle is going to be dropping a Pinnacle +2, 1302. And then you'll slowly work on leveling up as you go. That's basically everything for leveling in Season of the Chosen. Hopefully you guys find this video beneficial. And again, keep in mind those little fractions as you level up. Check Destiny Item Manager, see if you're like, got something that's like lagging far behind. If I'm sitting here and I have a piece of gear that's like this, like 1258, I could get any drop in the world that's a pair of boots and it would still be higher than I was. And if I was still just like, if I only needed a little bit more to get higher, it'd be worth going to do some random stuff. If you're at, 1263 and I'm 1263 and 1/8, then you can start doing powerful gear drops, knowing that, you have to do those to level up because there's no other way. So that is all I got, guys. I know this is a long one, but I tried to be all encompassing as usual. If you guys, if anything comes up later in the season, if you guys find this video later on, let me know if you have any questions. I will try and answer them for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. You can find me on Twitch. I'll be streaming here. On YouTube as well, so you can find me streaming on Twitch and YouTube, so follow, hit the like button, subscribe, alert bells, all of that good stuff. You can also find me on Twitter for my stream schedule and pretty much any news I've got going on with me or stuff out there in the world of gaming news. And outside of that, you guys are all amazing. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like below, leave a comment, as I said, if you got questions, and if you're new, subscribe, hit the alert bell. I've got a lot of stuff to cover in this season, so more videos to come. Thank you all very much. I'll see you soon.